Day. I hope you're having a great start to your week and that you're ready for some crafty inspiration because I've got a really fun project that you can start on now. And by the time the holidays roll around or the time that you want to decorate for the holidays, you will be ready to go. So, speaking of holidays, I know it's July, but it's Christmas in July here at Sulky. Still Christmas in July for a little while longer. And good news, we have brought back our holiday mystery box to celebrate Christmas in July. For those of you who were not able to grab up our 35th anniversary mystery box because those sold out so quickly, we thought we would give you another chance to grab up our holiday mystery box from last, Black Friday-ish timing. So you can grab up one of these boxes. It has some great items to celebrate your holidays with for your holiday makes, decor, garments, home deck, accessories, gift ideas, all the threads and products that you're going to need for that, and some special gifts from Sulky. Speaking of that, you will also get our Winter Greens hand embroidery collection valued at $9.99. as a freebie download after your purchase. So there's lots of project inspiration for that design collection as well. You can print out those design templates right on to Sulky Stick and Stitch Stabilizer and embroider right through them. You can either hand embroider or do some free motion embroidery using those stick and stitch templates. So you can grab up those digital files after your mystery box purchase and be on your way to some creative holiday gift making and whatnot. The other exciting news is, as you may remember, for our 35th anniversary mystery box, we offered a golden ticket. So inside one of those boxes was a $250 shopping spree to sulky.com. And our very, very gracious winner hopefully has had a really great time picking out all of her items on the website with her $250 golden ticket. So we thought we would give 5 people the chance to grab up a golden ticket, this time for a $50 shopping spree at sulky.com. So if you grab up one of these holiday 2021 mystery boxes, you could also be the recipient of a golden ticket, which entitles you to a $50 shopping spree. All right. Is everyone excited? I'm going to give it a round of applause just because I love my round of applause. All right. So let's get to the project. Today, I'm going to be walking you through our holiday cheer advent calendar pattern. This is a free pattern at sulky.com. You will get the full instructions for creating this felt pocket advent calendar. And you can use any designs that you have in your own personal design library, or I'm going to go over some Sulky designs that I featured on this calendar. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure as far as the designs go, but you will get the pattern to create all of these pockets, to create the nice border around your felt, and all of the dimensions and cutting and fabric requirements and all of that good stuff is included in the free pattern. So head on over to sulky.com, go to our free patterns page, and you can find the Holiday Cheer Advent Calendar and download it, and you will have all the instructions that you need to complete the Advent Calendar of your choice. So like I mentioned, you will also need some embroidery designs. And you can either do this using machine embroidery designs, or what I'm going to show you today is hand embroidery. I feel like when we're in July and making our must-make list for the holidays, or list for the holidays, that this gives us time to do some hand embroidery and maybe some cross stitch and some handwork items. Whereas when we get closer to the holidays, it's harder to find the time needed to complete things by hand. So then we kind of resort more to our machines, and especially machine embroidery, which can stitch out these designs in a fraction of the time. But they are relatively simple and small designs. So, I was able to complete these over the course of a few weeks. And that I'm only saying that because, I can do one here and there. But if you do these more in bulk or all at once, you'd probably be able to finish them even sooner if you chose to do the handwork designs. But we do also have them available for machine embroidery. So if you want to go that route, you can grab up our Holiday Cheer Machine Embroidery Palette. It includes all 10 designs that you see here, as well as the 10 threads that coordinate with all the designs. So super, super cute collection designed by Julia Anderson. She is a great, great influencer and has a wonderful Instagram page. Her Instagram is Matryoshka Doll Shop. It's hard to say. But at any rate, she's a great designer, and we hired her and worked with her to create this awesome kind of throwback vintage style holiday collection. And you can use some of these designs for just, winter decor as well. So they don't have to be Christmas holiday specific. Okay. So like I mentioned, I'm going to show you the hand embroidery version of these designs, which are done all in Sulky Cotton Petites thread. So the Cotton Petites is really what we recommend for handwork. And they come on 50-yard spools. So you'll get much more thread than you would on a skein of floss. Plus, they come on spools. So you have your handy little snap ends that you can simply open up, wind your thread end in there after you've threaded your needle, and just snap it shut. So you don't have to deal with skeins of floss that get knotted and tangled, that you have to rewind onto something else because it's just not practical to use. So you get this great spool, and you can then use it in your machine for top stitch detailing, sashiko work, big stitch quilting, things like that. As long as you have a size 100 needle, this thread's going to glide through that, and you'll be able to sew with it on your machine as well as do some handwork. So it does double duty, and it's just a really, really great solution to if you're normally, used to working with floss when you do hand embroidery or cross stitch. Now, one strand of this thread equals 2 strands of traditional embroidery floss as well. So you have less strands that you have to contend with while you are working your way through the design. And you can even use 2 strands of it or a strand of it mixed with, let's say, a strand of metallic or a strand of sliver or hollow shimmer. And then you can add some sparkle in your design and have some really cool metallic effects as well. So these designs for the hand embroidery come with purchase of our Holiday Cheer hand embroidery kit. This kit includes the 10 cotton petites that you will need to stitch out all the designs and multiples of them. You'll have plenty of thread to do multiples. Also a sheet of Sulky Felty, and you will also get some pre-printed designs already on Stick and Stitch so that you can try it out. This is the design transfer method I was just kind of talking about, and I'll show you how that works momentarily as we work our way through the project. But you're absolutely going to love it if you haven't tried it before. Okay, so this kit is at a great, great price. You can grab up all of these items, and the digital files for all the hand embroidery designs are also included, and they're formatted in some different sizes. So if you want to use the small size for the advent calendar, that's what I used in all of the pockets on the advent calendar, was the small size. And we've also formatted it for you in some larger sizes if you want to make an ornament or a stocking or put it on a t-shirt or sweatshirt or gift item of your choice. So all of those are already formatted for you in different sizes. And you also get a hand embroidery PDF booklet with purchase of this kit. It includes all your designs, color charts, and some really great reference materials. There's a whole sheet on how to use Stick and Stitch that you can refer to again and again, and basic embroidery stitches and diagrams that show you how to sew them out. So great stuff that comes with this kit. I think you will really enjoy it. Like I mentioned too, the kit comes with 1 sheet of white sulky felty. Now for the advent calendar, you're actually going to need some felt yardage because the felty comes in pre-cut sheets. They're about 8 by 10-ish, I want to say, the sheets. So you would need a lot of the sheets to create your little pockets. I think they're about 3 inches square once they are sewn together, or thereabouts. All the instructions are in the pattern, so you'll have all those dimensions once you download the free pattern at sulky.com. But then you also need a large rectangle of felt to put all of your pockets onto. So the felty isn't going to work for that. So you'll want some good quality felt by the yard from your fabric store. You can get some higher quality wool felt, but I find it's on the pricey side. You can find some polyester wool blend felt as well. And it's usually by, the fleece and things like that by the yard at your local fabric store. And you will also need some decorative fabric. We are going to line all of our pockets with some just quilting cotton fabric. So find a fun holiday print that kind of coordinates with the designs that you're choosing. So we're going to need that to line our pockets and do our decorative border around the calendar itself. And then also for the back and the hanging sleeve. So again, all the dimensions and yardage requirements that you need are in that free pattern that you will download at sulky.com. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is print out the designs that we want. So like I mentioned, I'm going to give you all the instructions for the hand embroidery version of this calendar. There are also instructions in the pattern itself for machine embroidery. So if you want to use the Holiday Cheer machine embroidery palette instead of the hand embroidery kit, then you will follow the instructions for machine embroidery that come with the pattern. But for today's demo, I'm going to be showcasing the stick and stitch and the hand embroidery kit. So we will print the designs of our choice onto a sheet of stick and stitch. I actually printed out, I want to say 2 or 3 sheets of stick and stitch for the 25 designs. It does sound like a lot. It does sound overwhelming, but like I said, these are really small, relatively simple designs. You could do them all in line art, all in back stitches if you wanted as well, which would make even quicker work of this. And a great project to get beginners or little ones involved in sewing, teaching them a little bit about it, and they get to make something with you as well that they can cherish for a lot of Christmases or holidays to come. Side note, this would make a really cute calendar for Halloween. All you have to do is switch up the designs that you put on the little pockets, and you could make a cute little Halloween spooky themed calendar to count down the days to Halloween. You would just need 31 pockets instead of 25. So start now, like I mentioned. Okay, so after you have printed out your design sheets, you also need to print out some numbers. Or you can just freehand them if you're super talented like that. But I went ahead and just typed out numbers on a Word document, found a font that I liked, sized them appropriately for the font size that I needed to fit on my pockets, and then printed those out onto a sheet of stick and stitch. So the numbers 1 through 25 are not included with the hand embroidery kit design files. So you'll just need to choose a font that you like for your calendar. All right, once you have done that, you'll cut out all of your numbers and all of your designs and start arranging them onto your cut out felt pocket squares. So I found it really helpful to put them all in order, how you're going to sew them onto the background fabric for the calendar, so that you don't have the same design repeating itself right next to each other, top, down, bottom, side, all that stuff. So much easier to see how it's going to ultimately look when you lay it all out like this. And I did also want to mention that I wanted a different look. Let's say you see that orange on number 18. Well, that's also on number 1. But on number 1, the orange has greenery with it. It's called the Holiday Citrus design. And so just to change it up a little bit, for number 18, can you see how I've cut off the greenery around the orange? So I'm just going to sew the orange part of that design. And then on number 12, I have the little heart that's actually featured on the inside of the hot cocoa mug. And I enlarged the heart and I put it with 2 evergreen sprigs from one of the other designs. So I kind of made my own designs using elements of the existing or original designs just to kind of change it up from pocket to pocket. So feel free, take liberties, make this your own. That's what sewing is all about. And you can pick and choose elements from each part of the designs to kind of change it up a little bit. So once you have decided your arrangement and where each design is going to go, you can also see I have moved the placement of some of the numbers as well. So I don't have, the number all in the upper left-hand corner, but you could certainly do that if you liked the look of that. The other suggestion I might make is maybe your numbers aren't in order. So it's more of a game for the little ones to find, where number 5 is and what's hiding inside that pocket, rather than having them, all in consecutive order. So that's just another choice you can make, and make that choice before you decide which designs are going to go where on which pocket. All right, so then once you've decided all that, you're just going to remove the paper backing from all of your little stick and stitch stickers and just stick them in place right onto the felt right side. Ooh, I should mention, earlier I said you could use a wool felt. Now, you have to make sure that the felt that you're using is going to withstand the water removal method that we are going to use for our calendar pocket squares. So wool is probably not the best option for you. I didn't even think of that, because if your water is warm or hot when you're removing your stick and stitch, which it doesn't need to be hot, it can just be lukewarm. But at any rate, it could cause that wool to kind of shrink up, and we don't want that. So probably a polyester blend felt is going to be more up your alley. So I apologize for recommending that, because it didn't occur to me right off the bat that we want to make sure the felt that we choose can withstand that water removal. All right, so now is the fun part. We get to hand embroider all of these designs. So on all of the numbers, I just did a simple back stitch. When you get your hand embroidery kit, your holiday cheer hand embroidery kit, there will be suggested stitches to use for each portion of the design. For example, this orange I think is made with back stitches for that white and the outline of the orange. And then the little segments are satin stitches. And then I think maybe we've got some leaf stitches for the leaves, things like that. These are just suggestions to kind of help you along your way when you're doing the hand embroidery, especially if you're new at it or you're teaching someone. But you can definitely take liberties here as well. Maybe you want a cluster of French knots in the center of your holiday citrus. Totally up to you how you want to interpret these designs and how you want to sew them out. So after you have sewn out or hand embroidered rather your design, you've got to remove that stabilizer. So here is where the water removal comes in. You want to make sure that you are removing your stabilizer under running water. We want to have the stabilizer kind of lift off, and it will dissolve for the most part, but some of it might kind of come away in little chunks. And we don't want those little chunks to kind of, if you were to soak it rather than have it under running water, some of those little chunks might lift up from the felt and migrate to another spot on the felt. And if there's excess ink or something like that in the stick and stitch that maybe didn't absorb all the way because you're a super fast embroiderer, something like this, it could maybe transfer to another portion of the felt. And especially when we're working with like a very light off-white color of felt, like what I used here, you're going to be able to see that, and then you're going to need a spot remover treatment. Now, first, what you can do in anticipation of that is always set your printer on the lowest ink setting or the draft setting. Those are kind of interchangeable terms. Just to make sure that you're not oversaturating the product with ink. It doesn't need to be that dark. You just need to be able to see it. And always make sure you are removing it under running water. That way it will completely leave the surface of the fabric as the water is hitting it. If you have one of those kitchen sprayers, those are really, really great for removing stick and stitch. I love those because it gives you this higher water pressure and some agitation, and it's just so great for removing the stick and stitch. But a faucet on high, make sure that it's running off of the project, not pooling on the fabric while you're removing it. All right. And then you just want to dry it really, really well. And I experimented with this felt. This is actually a piece of felty because I wanted to see how it would perform with the felty. So I did use some felty for the pockets, and then I supplemented with fabric by the yard that I found at my fabric store for the background of my advent calendar. But at any rate, I took this piece of felt after I embroidered it, and I squeezed the living daylights out of it to get rid of the excess moisture, just because I wanted to see how it would bounce back and how it would perform after removing it completely, or after removing the stabilizer. And I was a little nervous because this took quite some time and effort to embroider, but you can see it bounced back and looks absolutely great. So this is the very first pocket square that I embroidered, and I felt so accomplished. Only 24 to go. So after you kind of squeeze out the excess moisture, just lay it flat on a towel until it dries completely. Just air dry it. And then I just have a little bit more here to show you of some of the different pockets that I created. This is the number 4. So this design actually has a heart in the middle of it with those evergreen branches around it. So what I did was I cut out the heart, used it on a different fabric square for another pocket, and I put the number right in the center just to kind of change up that design. So this is me doing the running stitches, 1 strand of Sulky cotton petites in the needle, and just doing some running stitches, back stitches, and long stitches for the evergreen branches. And then I finished with the number 4 just with some back stitches. And here is the number 25. After a while, I did start switching it up. I thought maybe if I do the number 25, I will feel really accomplished and then work my way towards the middle. This is really great on the go sewing as well. If you have to travel to kind of drop the kids off somewhere, or, wait for a class to be over or something like that, make yourself a little on the go travel sewing kit. Grab up your little squares. Make sure you have your curved tip squeezers or a small snips handy, and grab up a couple of your Sulky cotton petites and a hand sewing needle, and you can take this on the go. And, maybe you're the passenger on a road trip and you can knock out a lot of these pockets while you are, road tripping this summer. Here is the little birdie, and I'm washing that one out. Super, super cute designs. Like I said, I just absolutely love them, and they do come together rather quickly. So you might also need to give it a little bit of agitation or rub it with your finger a little bit to kind of get it going. especially if you have sewn out a rather dense design like this bird. Along the edge, the stick and stitch is a little bit, I don't know, trickier, or, you know, it just has denser stitches around it. So you might just need to give it a little rub with your finger while you are under the water removing it. And there we have our little wet birdie who is ready to dry and then get constructed into the calendar. All right, so once you have all of your hand embroidery done and you've pat yourself on the back and taken lots of pictures of your accomplishments, now we're going to get to the construction part of the calendar. So first things first, we're going to create our hanging loop, or our casing for hanging the advent calendar. So I made it rather long so it spans almost the entire upper edge of the calendar, and that's just to give it stability while it's hanging. You know, if you had a smaller one, then the corners might want to flap forward, things like that. So a nice, you know, long hanging loop. So we're just going to create a rectangle according to the pattern dimensions, fold those short ends, double fold them to create a hem and top stitch, and then you're going to fold your rectangle in half lengthwise with right sides together and sew that long edge. Then you've just got to turn that tube that you created right side out. Here you can see I've got my hems along both ends, and then I've sewn that long edge completely. And then take your favorite turning tool and turn it right side out. So you can use a blunt chopstick or knitting needle. I always have a knitting needle close by because it's nice and blunt if you have a rather, you know, large knitting needle like this. It's nice and blunt so it doesn't poke through your fabric when you're turning your tube right side out. I also have this handy tool that is an awl on one side and then a point turner on the other. And I got this one started with the awl end, but it is really, really sharp. So you have to make sure that you're not going to pierce through your stitches or pierce through the fabric itself. I just kind of got it started this way and put this through the fold, through the hem fold on the short end, and got it started. And then you can flip it around and use this blunter end to push the entire tube right side out. And then you're going to center the seam along one side so that when you top stitch it to the back of your calendar, you don't see the seam at all. It's totally hidden along the back side. So just center it along one side and give it a nice press to make it nice and flat. And then you'll set this guy aside and we will be using it much later in the process. So now we've got to create all 25 of our little pockets. So what we're going to do is put our lining pocket square on our embroidered pocket square and sew 3 edges. I chose to leave my top edge unsewn for turning it right side out and then top stitching. You could do your bottom edge if you'd rather do that, and then you'll have a nice clean edge on the top that looks really nice and pretty. Sometimes it's a little hard when we are folding our edges to the wrong side to get a nice accurate top stitch without getting, you know, little waves in it and whatnot, especially if we're working with a heavyweight fabric like the felt and then a lighter weight fabric like the quilting cotton. So that's your choice. If you want to do your opening along the bottom edge, totally fine. If you're working with a directional print, be sure to be really careful when you're placing your quilting cotton fabric on your felt so that when you turn it right side out, your print is right side up. All right, so after you have sewn your 3 edges, you are then going to clip your corners. In my case, I clipped the lower edge corners because those are the corners that are sewn. You could see my top edge is still totally free from stitches and totally free from clips. Then you're just going to turn your little pocket right side out and fold those raw edges toward the wrong side, completely enclosing them. And then I just use Wonder Clips to make sure that that seam is nice and flat so I can top stitch it, and there I have my pocket. So here I am top stitching it, and here is my completed pocket. So now we've just got to do that 24 more times, and we will have our little pocket squares ready to place on our background felt. Okay, so now we get to lay these out again, but this time on our felt background. And again, all the dimensions for what to cut are in that free pattern at sulky.com. So we're going to put them in rows of 5 and arrange them exactly how we had arranged them previously when we were planning out all of those designs. So here you get to see your wonderful handiwork and place them all pretty close together. I basically abutted the ends or the edges of the pockets so that they're nice and tight next to each other. And then once you have this all in place, you'll just pin each pocket. I just put a pin in the center of each pocket, steering clear of my great hand embroidery stitching. And now we're going to top stitch every single one of those pockets in place. Whoops, let me go back to that picture. So you'll just top stitch all 3 edges, leaving your upper edge free from stitching so that we can put some goodies in there and, you know, when it's all completed. All right, so after top stitching, now we're going to add our border rectangles. So what I did was I placed each border along the edges so that I could sew the long edge and then fold that fabric to the right side, give it a nice press with my hands, not with an iron, and then top stitch or baste rather along the raw edge. And this way I have the felt backing behind my border pieces so that it's not going to be flimsy, you know, because we're using a lighter weight fabric for those borders than the felt. So we want the borders to also support the entire calendar itself. So you can also, if you don't want to do it this way, which I tell you exactly where to place it on the felt so that it matches up perfectly, but you could also fold your border piece along one long edge and then just top stitch it to the calendar as well. So 2 different ways of looking at that. So here, after I've sewn that long edge, then I fold that fabric piece toward the right side, and then I just wonder clipped it all along the edge and then basted that edge. And now I have my upper border piece is in place. All right, now we've got to add some more borders. So now I have my lower border piece, and we're going to sew it the same way along the long edge, then fold it to the right side over the top of the felt and baste along the raw edge. So after you baste along the raw edge, we're going to add some fun trim. I found this great kind of antique-y looking lacy crochet pom-pom fringe, and you can just use the trim of your choice. You can even insert a piece of ribbon along the long edge, or a piece of small piping would be cute. I thought that this kind of crocheted off-white look had a little bit of vintage quality that went with the fabric print, that went with the embroidery designs. So you do you and find the trim that works for you. But I thought just the addition of a little bit of trim along that lower edge just gives it a little something something and makes it even more special. So after you baste that edge, you're going to baste your trim in place as well. You can do this together as one if you're feeling confident, or baste the fabric edge and then baste your trim in place over the top of that just for some extra security. All right, I think this might be the side edge. I'm not sure. Yes, this is the side edge. So after you do your upper and lower edges and add your trim piece, now you're going to add your side borders in the same way. And again, if you're working with a directional cotton print fabric, make sure that your fabric direction is correct on your calendar. So if you're looking at this from up and down, make sure that your print is oriented in the correct way. All right, now you're just going to top stitch. After folding that to the right side, top stitch along the seam you just sewed and do your basting along that outer edge. And now we have this fabric frame around our cute calendar. And we've got our trim, which is still right sides together, because now we're going to add our backing fabric, and we need to make sure we are including or enclosing or sandwiching that trim piece. Okay, so it's not going to fold to the right side until we turn this thing all right side out. So you could see our trim is still facing up and we have our borders totally completed. So now set that aside and we're going to top stitch our hanging sleeve to our back fabric, okay? So you're going to center your hanging sleeve about 1.25 inches or so from the upper edge and just center it along the width of the fabric. Then you're just going to top stitch along both long edges, my goodness, of the hanging sleeve. All right, so here we are top stitching it in place, just along both long edges. And there it is, all sewn. And now we are going to put our back fabric over the top of our calendar with right sides facing, and just pin it in a few places along the perimeter. You want to be sure to leave an opening for turning this right side out. So as you can see, I mark it with an actual fabric marker so that I don't forget that that's my opening. And I also place double pins on either side of my opening so that I don't forget and accidentally sew the whole thing without leaving that opening, because I still manage to do it even when I leave myself these clues. All right, so now you're going to turn it right side out and then turn your opening seam allowances toward the wrong side. Make sure they're nice and flat and meeting each other perfectly. And then you can use pins or wonder clip your opening shut. And then you're just going to top stitch the entire calendar. So here we are top stitching, beginning with the opening and then going around the entire calendar. And there we have it. So after you turn this right side out, before you do your top stitching, make sure that you turn your trim to the right side. Then when you add your top stitching, that's going to help your trim lie flat and kind of dangle, from that lower edge of your calendar. So now you get to fill it with all kinds of cute treats and hang it where desired, and super cute. Your advent calendar is complete. So I'm sure some of you are saying, let's personalize this further. And by all means, what I suggest is along that upper edge border, you could maybe do some more hand embroidery. You could write March Family Christmas or Holidays 2020 or something else. Fa la 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 la. Whatever you would like to put to personalize your calendar. It would be cute to put just a last name along that border on the upper edge. You could even do that in machine embroidery as well. Also, you could experiment with some of your decorative stitches on your sewing machine. So rather than doing a straight stitch top stitch, you could maybe do a snowflake stitch or a wave stitch or something fun that you have in the decorative stitches on your sewing machine. So lots of ways you can personalize this and make it your own. All right, so grab up that pattern at sulky.com. Grab up your hand embroidery holiday cheer kit that comes with everything you will need, all of those great Sulky cotton petites threads that you will need to create all of these 25 embroidery designs. So I think you'll really have fun with it. And again, you can get the little kids involved or a beginner who's learning to sew and, you know, have a lot of fun with this project. All right. I also wanted to mention, speaking of felt, we have our In the Hoop Candy Corn Clutch free webcast coming up August 16th at 2 p.m. with Sue O'Veary-Pruitt of Sulky Sews. So be sure to register for this over at sewingonline.sulky.com. This is a really great project made out of Sulky Felty, and as you can see, it also comes with a really cute candy corn charm that you can create for the zipper, which is added completely in the hoop of your embroidery machine. So we will learn how this all comes together on August 16th during our free webcast at sewingonline.sulky.com. And you can grab up the pattern, which comes, or not the pattern, the machine embroidery design, which comes with purchase of the kit. So this is everything you get in the kit for Candy Corn Clutch. Glowy threads, special effects threads that are really going to make this a great Halloween themed project. Again, done entirely in the hoop of your embroidery machine. So grab up your kit, available now, on sale while supplies last, and be sure to register for that. Again, happening August 16th at 2 p.m. Eastern. All right. I hope everybody enjoyed today's Advent Calendar project and that you are inspired to get a head start on your holiday makes for Christmas in July. So it'll be here before we know it, and you all will be prepared. I know. Okay. Well, have a great rest of your day, everyone, and I will see you next week for another So What?